Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my Skylines series Japan. Today we're in episode 8, and in the background you can already see I did some off-camera work. What I did here is we made the plan in the last episode, and I kind of built now every single thing in the game that we have up to this point, like we have it here. And I'm pretty happy about it. You can definitely see kind of where everything is, and I especially like how the expressway turned out. Also because it will be having a tunnel section, but we will be coming back to this once we are detailing the expressway, what is not in this episode. In this episode we are starting to detail and to carve the kind of outside shapes of the downtown, I would say. We are building the first big buildings, the Danchis, that will be kind of located in the pretty far north of the downtown, and this will be marking kind of the end of the downtown. After this point there will only be some more suburbs, I think. Well, if you aren't that familiar with Japan and how in Japan it is everything called, Danchi is kind of like public housing. It was built in the 1950s up to the 1970s, and it was kind of like a public housing plan to give affordable housing to everyone. And now all of them are slowly getting either destroyed and very, very damaged and just pretty bad looking, I would actually say, or they are getting destroyed one by one. And this is kind of like a failed thing, I would say. But it would depend how you would see it. For Tokyo, for example, it was a success because they made it possible that a lot of people lived in their towns and that a lot of people weren't getting homeless because of these buildings. But the living standards weren't that high. But yes, this is what we are building today, and just kind of like the look of them. We are also defining the detailing style for the downtown, because it won't be that hyper detailed like we detailed the smaller area, the small fishing village. Main reason for this is that the FPS would be way too bad with it, so I simply go with a bit of a simpler thing, because we won't be looking that close into the areas like this, but it is also enough so that I'm happy with what I did and that I'm happy with kind of like the style of detailing it. And yes, these here are also small apartment housings, not too good looking. They're pretty close to the highway too, so they will be pretty noisy, I think. Also another point that might be interesting for you is in total there are actually living 5,000 people in this area in the end, but up to this point we have to kind of develop quite a lot of things, and first I thought it would be cool to have some shops in here. But I deleted them later on, they weren't realistic and this wouldn't work out for me because they would be more in a densely populated area or in a completely suburban area and not in this mixed zone in between, I feel like. So I got rid of them and just made a small parking lot here, just like the big one in the background, and this will be just like for the smaller apartment blocks here that they have some parking lots, and the bigger ones are for the big apartment blocks, so as you might have thought about it, what would be the only logic thing to do there. And yes, I connected them up, kind of like this thinking that everything they could build in the same timeline, and then I fenced in the first area just kind of like to define for myself where what should go, and this should be kind of like this garbage island thing in the middle where they can put the trash in, and where the kind of like the authorities can take the trash there and just get rid of it basically. And this is kind of like the area for this. It's the middle of both of them, and it is kind of like this very weird looking area. You don't want to spend time there, I would say. So here I'm adding in some more dirt decals to make it look more destroyed and more, I wouldn't even say abandoned, I would just say more used and not too well kept. I'm sorry for the background noises. And yes, this is what we did there, and now we're just kind of like putting it up like this, that is actually looking like it is connected to the buildings, although we need to connect them later on with visible pathways, but this is totally fine, I think, because for this one I've used the pavement network because it's having different sizes that I can use, and it was quite fine for use like this. Now here for the detailing, I'm firstly going with the bushes and then with the smaller trees. They give in several layers that are looking pretty good from the far, and they are not too much detailing so that I won't have too many FPS later on, too less FPS, that I won't have the FPS problem we had in every single series that I had before this one. But yeah, it is working out in the end, I should say. This is the main thing that I want to say with this. It is just that I'm doing a bit of detailing but not too much, and that it is looking good from afar. And yes, this is also kind of like this thinking that I will have to be using for the whole downtown, because we won't be able to detail everything. This is simply impossible for us, out of the reason that we don't have the opportunity for this, that we will be even able to see it, because, well, it is a big town in the end, we can't be showing off everything. Then it would be a cinematic video of about 12 hours, I feel like. But yes, now we are starting off with the suburbs around them, because I was thinking how I can fill in the rest of the space, and then I got the idea, maybe when we do some suburban areas behind it, this would be kind of like this good break from the downtown. And so this is basically the transition zone between downtown and suburban area. I think it is kind of realistic, but it also might be wrong with this, so please, if I'm wrong with anything in this video, please correct me. But yes, here I'm using these ones, they're obviously way too bright. I wanted to make some brickways there, so I've made them way darker. And now they kind of like fit of the style, because either these Danchis had poor concrete or they had grey or red tiles for the areas, and I thought this would be kind of like a more fancier one, so I made them dark red and just gave them the look of this feeling that I want to give there. Here is once again the garbage pickup place, where we have some kind of like garbage things, and it is not under detailed, it's not over detailed, it is fine, I think. Now here I'm going around and actually expanding the forest a bit more, because I wasn't sure how I should do the suburban connection there, so I thought about maybe some more forest in here to kind of like protect the suburban area from the noisiness of the Danchis, because the Danchis weren't that good of a place to live and they aren't that good of a place to live, so it is like not the place where you actually would like to live, I think I can say there. And yes, this is basically also the detailing that we're doing for this area, and I just simply love it with the trees. It is not over detailed, it is not under detailed, it is the perfect middle for myself. Maybe it isn't perfect for you guys, but then you can write me kind of like the opportunity to give me the opportunity to make it like you wanted to. You can kind of like simply write me down in comments below how you would wish to have them looking and how you want them to feel. Here I'm using these blocks, they're block cube services, to kind of get more people in. Just because there wouldn't be too many living there, it would be realistic. We want to have a big city in the end with about 80 to 90k people living, and for this one we need to use some tricks and cheat a bit in some areas like this. But yes, this was basically the big towers, and now we're going to the small suburban area. Nothing too fancy there too, but I just love doing suburban areas, and they are pretty easy for me. I now kind of got the hang of them, and they are definitely under-detailed when you look at them from a close-up, but once again, I won't be looking that close to them, so it should be fine. We have to think about the limitations of the game and not just simply play there, because when we would go crazy there, what I would love to do, we would have a big FPS problem later on, so this was a thing that I always have to think about when I build stuff like this and how I want to build stuff like this. And yes, now we're firstly adding in some pillars soon, I think. Because the pillars are pretty important, because the bridge needs pillars, and I want to build kind of everything around them, so now I'm just adding them in like this, so that I can see where they are aligned, and then I just move them down. We will be doing this step by step for the whole highway, so I want to have a very high detailed areas at first, and then we will kind of like cover the outside areas of the mode, actually say. And yes, I'm really enjoying stuff like this, so you should actually at this point already know that I love to go into detail, and that I think I hit it on there right on the spot. If you don't think like this, or if you think like this, please write it in the comments down below. It helps me to hear your feedback, and it gives me the possibility to improve my series so that you like it more, and that more people can enjoy it. And yes, here I'm now adding in another small street, another crowded place, just kind of like to give this feeling of a really big town to city actually, and this is kind of like my goal here. And this will be also done to the left part. Pretty easy detailing, pretty quick detailing, and it is looking fine. It is definitely looking like it should, so it gives the immersion of a very big city. And it is not that overly detailed as already said, but I'm happy with it. Here the small place just gets some cars in and a small shack, just kind of like to have some realism here. Maybe kind of like I thought about the storage area for some old cars or something like this. Maybe even an old person owning this from kind of like the time when they were young or something like this. And just some scrap laying around. Nothing too fancy, nothing too shabby. Basic detailing, I would call it. And yes, this is basically this area detailed. And now I actually thought about there already ending the episode, but then it would be about 12 minutes, and I thought about, nah, I still have some time. Then I can also expand it a bit more. And this is what we did in there, so now we're going on to the bigger part, and for this one I had to first think about the road layouts. The road layouts were something interesting for me, because Japanese road layouts are at some points very gritty, but at some points they're also pretty, from time to time, growing, so it is not like an American planned city. It is a growing city, and for this one I made it like this, that I said, okay, we will have some kind of like similar to grid structures, but we won't have that many big grids. So what I want to say with this is we will be having the good renovation of them, I feel like, so you will see what I mean with this in a second. At first I'm adding in the curb here just for some more detailing, and this one was once again straight copy and pasting because the buildings were also pasted over, and this is what I can do there now. Feels pretty easy detailing, pretty lazy detailing, but it gives kind of like the last bit of realism that I want to have for it. And yes, this is kind of like, in a lot of the areas will be looking like this, so I won't be making kind of like this high-tech city. It will be also with a lot of dirty places like this, just for the realism, and that I love building dirty places, so I'm just kind of like the person for stuff like this. So I love how they look and I love how they feel in City Skylines, so I'm mostly building stuff like this, that I don't actually care if it is realistic or not, but in this case I feel like it is pretty realistic. Here I had several of them above each other, fixed it, and that we don't have a clipping here for the cinematics. And yes. Also I switched to cloud save. Main reason is I don't have enough space on my computer, and so now I'm switching to cloud space that I can make more there, and I don't have to use so much space for City Skylines saves, because this was actually getting a pain. And yes, we will also have to kind of get the European save to work again. But there I have some small problems because I made some mistakes, so I will have to fix them by myself. This will take me some time, but afterwards it should be fine, I think, and then you guys can actually see the European one once again. I actually can't wait to build there something, because I was in Vienna once again for school and I got some inspirations there, so the Vienna save might be actually coming back rather soon than rather late, so maybe some weeks. I don't know until now. It is mostly depending on how much fun I have building something right now. And I'm right now collecting some information about Vienna stuff, so there might be something coming soon. Sooner or later, I should say. It should be something around 4 weeks to 3 months, I would say. Main reason for this is I'm starting the saves and I just play what I like and not what I now need to play, because this would simply make fun for me, and as I already said, I'm doing this as a hobby, so this is kind of like I'm mostly starting what I want to do right now and not what I have to do. This is also a big problem with editing sometimes, because I'm not that good in editing and I don't like that much editing, so mostly then I would just simply play and have about 10 episodes pre-recorded. Not that good, I know, but this is just simply how I work. But yes, here you can already see how quickly we're doing the suburbs. This is the same speed as before, we should say, but we're nearly finished already with the inside of it. And I just want to give kind of like the immersion of it, of being a pretty crowded area. And it worked out, pretty happy about it. We will be doing them all over the place. And they will also be great for train videos, where we do kind of like train watching next to this area. And we will be having suburban trains going all over the place, and I can't actually wait to see them. They should be pretty cool. We actually also might be adding in some more train lines, I have to say, because I feel like we have to do less of them. So you will see what I mean with this soon, but for now we're just sticking with them, but I'm considering to add some more, just for the kind of like reason that in some areas Japan has so many of them. It's crazy. Tokyo is an extreme example of this, so might be doing something like this. Okay, now we're just setting in the parking, and now we're detailing the place already, because I placed nearly all of the buildings that I wanted to place, and now I just need to detail it, and I was pretty surprised by myself how quickly it got, but yep, this is it. Now we're just adding in some bushes, some decals soon, and then we are finished with it. Also the power lines we should add, but there actually you could have seen me zooming out, and this was basically because I was so surprised that I'm already finished with this area, because I was like, huh, wait, this is a bit too quick. I think this was about 10 minutes in real life. And then it was kind of like fine for me. It fit the standards of a big downtown, and it shouldn't be that over detailed because it's just kind of like a small piece of a downtown. So yeah, this is what I did there. And yes, now we're detailing everything, and here I once again realized how much I like my colors of the game. I have to say they're fitting perfectly in for the theme, because it's kind of like this subtropical feeling, and it is giving this feeling nearly perfectly. And yes, I will for now leave you, and I would say thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, I would really much appreciate if you would give this video a like, and if you want to see more and you haven't seen my channel until now, I would appreciate if you'd consider subscribing to me. It helps me a lot. It is a lot of free support that you can give me here. And yes, I would love to see that. Thank you, have a great day, and please write me your opinion down in the comments down below. Bye!